Now it's time for the Real Estate Debate, where we debate the hottest topics in San Diego real estate. Let's meet today's panelists. Vinnie Enriquez, realtor at Keller Williams Metro San Diego. Arlo Nugent, broker-owner for Blue Chip Realty Group. Kris McCullough, manager for Kim Steele & Associates at Signature Real Estate Group. And Kristian Peter, founder of San Diego Home Company.
Welcome to the Real Estate Debate, gentlemen.
Thanks.
The gentleman's version. No ladies represented, but that's okay. So we've got some hot topics on the table today, stuff that I've been hearing from people right here in San Diego, buyers and sellers. I want you to just tell me if you agree or disagree and why. Arlo, we're going to start with you on topic number one. If someone is selling a home in Carlsbad and buying a home in Chula Vista, they should use different agents for each transaction that specialize in those areas. Agree or disagree?
Disagree.
Tell me why.
I disagree. Right now we have the most informed consumer that we've ever had. With the internet, you can go on, you can see walk score, what restaurants are good, you can see crime stats, you can see everything about a property.
Okay, so you don't think they need to have different agents that specialize in the different
I don't.
areas?
Same contracts. No, so if I'm working with somebody on the selling side, I know their story. I know why they're selling. I know what they're looking for. I know what it is about this house that they didn't like and what they're looking for in their next house. It's an easier transition.
Okay, just to have one agent in the process.
I agree.
Okay,
Yep.
Vinnie?
I disagree with an asterisk. I think there's so many components that go on in the transaction. So if you're selling your property and buying a property contingent on the sale of it, it's nice to have a common voice throughout the whole process to alleviate some of that stress. Now, if you're selling a property and then renting and then buying, it might be beneficial to use two agents that specialize in the different areas. If you can't find the right agent that offers the qualities that I think are positive or easy, better for the transaction process, knowledgeable, consistent, and compassion. So if you can't find that in one agent or a team, then you have to split it up and go with two agents.
Okay. Kris?
I personally believe that people should use two different agents. And I will caveat with this, and the reason why I say it is we specialize in Fallbrook. So our team, we list properties in Vista, we list them in Valley Center, a whole bunch of different places all through San Diego, North County, but we specialize in Fallbrook. I would challenge a lot of people, if they don't understand the Fallbrook market, to go up there and actually try to learn it, to actually take care of their client, which at the end of the day, our job is to look out for our client in their best interest. We actually turned down a property recently because it was just not in our wheelhouse and we didn't specialize in that market. So in my opinion, if I don't know that market, the right thing to do by the client is to pass them to somebody else. Now, if you know that market, so if I'm an agent in Carlsbad and I know Chula Vista, then absolutely, then you should do both transactions. But if you don't know that market, you're not doing a justice to your client. I don't think you should do it. That's my opinion.
Interesting, Fallbrook's your market. I've been studying Fallbrook for years.
Fallbrook is
Fallbrook quite a bit. Kristian, what do you think?
I definitely, to piggyback off of what Kris said, think that's exactly the case. I think as a listing agent, we can list and sell homes really well, usually anywhere in the country. We know what it is to list and sell a home, right? We're going to make it look good, we're going to stage it, we're going to take fantastic photos, we're going to expose it to the entire market, we're going to negotiate on our seller's behalf, and we're going to do the best job possible. On the buyer's side, completely different ballgame, right? Because we're usually out there listing and selling homes. So we want to have somebody who's going to work with that client, take them to the homes they want to see, and negotiate on their behalf. Also, Carlsbad and Chula Vista, completely different markets, right? So you're talking 200,000 people in Carlsbad, 200,000 people in Chula Vista. You've got, one market that's going to be different than the other. You've got the west side of Chula Vista, which is completely different than the east side of Chula Vista. So on our team, what we would do is we'd have a listing person that would work directly with them to sell their home. Then we'd have a buyer's agent that worked directly with them to find their next home. So that's the way you kind of take that into account. You want to have that listing person who takes care of them on the listing side, and that buyer's person that's going to hold their hand the entire time and show them the perfect home.
Okay, yeah, and it's funny you say that because we're talking about, if someone went down to Chula Vista, for example, didn't know the market, they'd say, oh, all these properties are cheaper on the west side. That's
right.
We should buy over there. And maybe that will work out in the long run. But right now, everyone wants to be east. East Lake is where it's at.
Well, it's two different markets, not only that, but so let's say you do walk it in there and they do see, oh, this is the house for me, I'm over in this area. But it may not actually hold to what they want in the long term. So you kind of did them an injustice because you didn't know the market.
And the homeowners out there and consumer buyers, they're very smart now. And they're thinking the same way what you're thinking. They're thinking, well, I want someone working on selling this house, and I want someone else working on helping me find a house. I can't have the same person doing both of those things because it's going to be taking resources away from one of my sides. And that makes sense.
But how many agents only have one client? How many agents, how many listings do you guys usually carry? Well, you're owner, you carry
Yeah, he's an owner. We usually carry anywhere from 20 to 30 at any given time.
And so how many?
7 to 15.
So when you're talking about basically one agent selling and then buying, and we're talking about 20 listings, realistically, how many are just doing one at a time? So it kind of takes away from that.
Well, I understand that, but this is just what people are saying.
No, I understand. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying that the idea that, okay, well, we're not going to have enough time to focus on the selling part of it and the buying part of it, I think is a unrealistic expectation. I think if you have the right agent that, like you said, there's so many different platforms out there, like Crime Spot, like even doing a CRM, on the property you're looking to buy, you can factor that in. Okay, well, if you go across the bridge right here, it's going to be more expensive. Why is that? Let me do a little research. Okay, I can figure out what's going on with here. So you have a consistent voice that's kind of walking you through. Because if you have two escrows going on at the same time, it makes it very difficult. You have one agent trying to, because we're all mostly D's.
It's good for
But
the
I
left hand to know what
agree
the
with
right
you.
is doing.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree with you, but to a point.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be the guy that's going to upset everybody.
Yeah.
But I think this is a truth.
Yeah.
How many agents are educated
Well,
enough?
that's, yeah.
Because I would say that, we've all sat down and talked before we got in here, and it's very obvious that we're all deeply immersed in what we do.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of agents that don't know all of the things that you just mentioned, that don't know where to find the information, that don't know what they should say, what they shouldn't say. They don't understand how much time they should be giving a client. They're just trying to get a deal. And in the process, they end up hurting their client.
I agree
Yeah,
with that
I know.
100%. So when I formed my answer, I was thinking about my own consultation.
Yeah.
When I sit down with the seller, I'm not the one that sits down with comps and just says, okay, well, this house sold for that, you've got this, upgrade that, this is what it's going to sell for, here's a listing agreement. I like to find out really what the motivations are.
Yeah.
And not just we're looking for a smaller house. Why are you looking for a smaller house? What's important to you about that? So taking that time to really understand that helps also with knowing what they're going to look for. Now, I've worked in both markets, but knowing Chula Vista somewhat, if they're telling me they're looking for schools, they're looking for a bigger house, okay, we're looking at API scores, we're looking at walk score, we're looking at crime, we're looking at all of this. Chula Vista, it's pretty easy to say one side is not as good as the other, and that can start that direction. Going out, showing them the properties based on that feedback, refining the search. Do they work with people? Why Chula Vista to begin with? What is it about Chula Vista? Do you know people there? What
Right.
do they say? What neighborhood are they in? So just taking just a little bit of extra time during that consultation in the beginning. Not all agents do
Well, that's
that.
the discussion that we actually had earlier, sitting down and actually asking the right questions.
Right.
My
Questions, that's it.
concern
Mhm.
is, what are the right questions? And if somebody is not an expert in that market, they don't know what the right questions should be to ask. Now, those that have the experience, they're walking down that path, especially if it's in a market that they don't help people buy in often. That's why I think,
Right.
especially if, and you mentioned it, a buyer's agent, somebody that
Yeah.
specializes in that. It's almost like Bentley's. There's a guy that makes steering wheels. He's a third-generation guy.
Yeah.
You would not want him working on the engine,
Right.
right? It's just a little bit different.
But to go to that buyer's consultation, what you want to do is you've got a seller and a buyer, right? So your seller is going to want something completely different, the most amount they can possibly get for their home. And then on the buyer side, you want to find them the best deal you possibly can.
Right.
But you're also going to have their list of non-negotiables, and that's why we go through with all the buyers and we say, okay, here's 26 different points that you may want in your next home. Which one of these are your non-negotiables? Okay, I need to have at least 4 bedrooms. I need to be in the school district. I need these. Okay, now I can go to work for you and I can figure out, okay, this is going to be a perfect home for you. Or these 2 or these 3. Whereas if you're not as experienced on the buyer side of things, you're going to be looking all over the place for that
What are
needle
you
in a haystack.
pre-approved for and zip
Right.
code?
Let's
right?
go
That's
out there
where a
and
lot
just
of
pull like
agents,
50,
right.
50 homes, and we'll figure it out as we go.
Let's look at 30 and see if you
Right.
like 5.
And then
Right.
wonder why
Exactly.
they can't close.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A
so
lot
I
of
think
times,
that's
I'm hearing
a
from
really
people
good
that,
point.
that they're talking to their agents, and their agents are saying, go look online and find the property that you want to see, and then let us know.
See, and that's horrible.
That's happening.
It is happening, and it's
That's
happening now
happening,
more
yeah.
than ever,
It's-
or maybe
it's crazy.
That's
as much
ter-
as back before the market.
Yeah, that's
turned.
terrible customer service. I mean, we want to go through and preview every single home that fits into their criteria. If there's 10 of them, we'll go find the best 2 or 3. We're
Right.
not going to send them online to go look at 50 different homes and then come back and say, oh, I want to go look at all 50 of those.
But I've heard that a lot from people who were working with someone else that they met at an open house or something, right? They meet someone else and they said, yeah, we just send our agent what properties we want. That takes us out of the equation. That's not good.
That's wild. Well, not only that, but think about this. Now, I could probably understand that to a point if we were in a market where homes maybe cost $50,000, $100,000. We're in the San Diego market. The median price point in our focused market of Fallbrook and Bonsall, it's $675,000. We're looking at 2.5 to 3% of that, and we turn 5 to 10 of those per month. And I'm going to tell them, that's a lot of money. That's a good day's pay for doing a good day's work. And I'm going to tell them, go on Zillow. Check it out on there. You let me know if you find something.
And then let's write an offer based on this.
Why should they even bother hiring a real estate agent? Why should they hire a real estate
agent?
agent?
Think about it. Most agents, they're selling and helping someone buy based off fear. Because what are they making right now? 3%. The average agent does a year, 3 transactions a year, something like that. So if you're only doing 3 transactions a year, and you're like, okay, this is my money maker. This is that individual, my money maker.
Right.
I'm going to basically,
they're putting their own interests before their clients.
Yeah, they can really care less, and they're not
Yeah.
experienced enough to know that you have to do a consultation. They're not experienced enough to ask the right question. So that's the issue that kind of really comes about,
That
is
might
making
be,
sure
yeah.
that they're experienced, they know that they can, so on and so forth.
That might be
Great
why there's so
discussion,
much
fellas.
turnover.
Okay.
Great discussion. Fantastic. This is exactly what the real estate debate is all about, which is why we need to jump into topic number 2 before we run out of time. This one, I've actually been hearing a lot of people talk about this. Buyers should wait until they have 20% down to buy a home so there's no mortgage insurance and the payment is more affordable. Agree or disagree?
Totally disagree. People should buy a home based on where it is they want to live for the foreseeable future. If they can afford a home, it fits into their monthly budget, they've got a job that they can rely upon or a way to pay that mortgage on a monthly basis, they should buy exactly what it is they want right now.
Okay. Chris?
I 100% disagree. And I view it as it's a home is not just a home that you're going to fall in love with, that you live in, you raise your family in, and everything else. Your home is also an asset and an investment. Right now in this market where we are, especially in San Diego, my wife and I even do this. We bought a house for $500,000. I rolled all of our money from our last 2 homes we sold. It's worth, after 2 years, $875,000. That's more than most people's jobs are paying them. So you buy a home with 1%, 0%, 3% down right now. 2 years from now, it could appreciate $50,000 to $100,000 to $200,000. Why wouldn't you buy a house right now with these interest rates?
I can tell you what people are saying. They're saying that they don't want to be house poor, that they want to save up, have a big down payment, eliminate the mortgage insurance, get a nice, comfortable, safe payment. That's what it's all about. At least that's what I'm hearing. Vinnie, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with them, but I disagree with the statement. I think people focus too much on the PMI. They should more focus on actually the comfort level of the monthly payment, because if you're buying a property, you're planning to live in the property. Let's say the values go down next week. Well, you know what? You're comfortable with the payment. You're going to be paying that payment anyways for rent. So you live in the property for another 10 years, values are going to go back up. So it's not about that PMI having that in there. It's more about that monthly payment that you feel comfortable at. And also, too, there's so many programs out there right now that you can actually do 10% down with no PMI. It's just finding the right lender that's willing to work with you and be creative with it.
That's an interesting point, too, because lending has loosened up. There's some interesting programs out there. Arlo, what do you think on this?
So requiring somebody to come in with 20% down, I think, is very difficult in San Diego, because I tell my clients, you're going to pay somebody's mortgage, it might as well be your own. I mean, we can talk about the tax benefits and everything else, but with a city where rent is as high as it is, it's tough with the median income. If you look at median income, median home price, and then you try to save up 20%, a lot of people are just working just to pay their rent. So then to have all that extra to set aside, I mean, I think that's pricing people out of the market, essentially.
Okay, it's going to keep people out. Well, it is
It's going to keep people out.
Absolutely.
Because, for
It's keeping
example,
people out right now.
what if, your senior year of high school, they say, okay, you want to go to college. Well, you have to pay 20% of your tuition for the 4 years up front. How many people are automatically going to say, can't afford that?
Well, there's an argument as to whether they might be better off in that case.
There is.
I'll make an argument with you on that one.
But what about the returns?
But this
So,
is different.
yeah.
This is different because we're talking about people have to live somewhere, and people want to buy. We're talking about people who want to purchase. So there's not a lack of desire in these people that I'm referring to in this particular topic. It's simply a comfort issue where people have seen the market go up, they've seen it come down, more importantly, and that's sticking like a tattoo. Like a tramp stamp. It's on all of us. Okay? Yeah. We've seen it, right? We know what it is. We're looking at it and going, I don't like it. So what they're saying is, don't want that. I want to be in a situation where I'm very, very comfortable with what I'm purchasing. That's all. I think it's a mental thing. I don't think it's a logic thing. I think it's a psychological, repercussion of the last downturn. My opinion.
And I agree with that. What I do see, though, is that when you put an arbitrary number like 20% down to eliminate PMI or to make their mortgage quote-unquote affordable, that's a misnomer. That shouldn't be taken into account. What should be is the price of the home and the monthly payment. So if they feel like they need to come in with 20% down, that's because they want a lower monthly payment. So instead of looking at that $800,000 house, they should be looking at a $600,000 house.
right.
Or they should be looking at a different neighborhood, but they should be looking for something that's going to fit their needs long term, and that way they're not really concerned about the upturns, the downturns, the positive or negative equity at one point. What they're looking at is, I can afford this $3,000 a month mortgage payment for the next 10 years. And if I can do that, it doesn't matter if I put 0% down. You know, what we've seen in the past is that the VA loans, they have the lowest default rate of any mortgage that's out there. So they put 0 down on those properties, right? So when you're looking at somebody who's doing a VA loan or somebody's putting 20% down, the VA loan is typically going to be more stable, it's going to be less default prone, and the reason why is because they know what they're making, they know what they're going to be making 10 years from now, and they can afford the home.
Yeah.
So that's what we should really be looking at.
I think a problem that usually happens is there's a difference between what you can actually afford compared to what you're comfortable at, like what you're stating right there. And a lot of people, they go, okay, I went to the lender and they said I can afford this kind of payment right here. Well, you're only paying, the payment's going to be $2,500, but you're only paying right now on rent $1,200. Oh, but I can afford it. I always tell people, if you've got a couple months out, pay the $1,200 and put the difference into your bank account. And so you actually feel how it feels on your pocketbook, and you go, well, okay, I guess I really can't afford that much. I need to reduce what I'm looking for and my purchasing power and go for a little bit less.
You make a good point, because lending guidelines have loosened, mostly in DTI though, and not in proof of income requirements and things like they did last time. It's mostly in DTI, and a lot of the back-end ratios you're seeing right now and approvals coming through, and I've talked to lenders about this and had them actually do a little survey on a weekly basis on this. And average debt-to-income ratios, back-end debt-to-income ratios on purchases right now in the 40s. That's pretty high. We're talking about gross income. Now, we are talking about higher price points, so the gross amount doesn't factor as much as it would if you were buying $100,000 houses. But
I had one
still.
I had one 6 months ago. It was VA. We had it at like 58%.
Yeah.
Like it's.
You see, that's just
That's
wild to me.
high.
I think that the challenge is that a lot of people are buying based off of their hearts and what they want, as opposed to viewing it, like I was saying earlier, as an asset and an investment.
Yeah.
If they were viewing it as an asset and investment, they would not be looking for the $800,000 home. They would be looking for the $600,000 home, maybe in a different neighborhood that does fit within what they can afford over an extended period of time. And if they did that, then it's a moot point.
That's exactly what I did when I bought my first property, and then I rode the market up. I didn't even look at PMI. I was able then to sell that one, take money that I'd saved over time, money that I made from that one, roll it into my next house and my next house.
And that's what step-up
That's the
homes
only
are
reason
supposed to be.
I can live where I live now, is because I did that. Had I, been required to come in with 20%, I'd probably still be renting, because it's a tough,
It's a tough jump.
It's a
So
tough
is
jump
it-
to get up there.
So
Yeah.
going back to what we were talking about in the last topic, I would question, is it the real estate agent's responsibility to educate the buyer? And if it is, then why is this even a topic?
It's a topic because people are really talking about it out there.
But that's my point.
Yeah.
If people are really talking about it, then they aren't being educated.
Yep.
And I think real estate agents should really put it out to them. And instead of looking at it, they can buy this $800,000 home. You know what? You probably can. But let me show you something that actually maybe you could look at as an asset and something that you have over time. So when you do well, you call me back.
Right.
And I'll sell it for you and help you out with that step-up home.
100% agree to that, and I mean, really, you're not asking the right questions again, right? If it's the
Right.
buyer who's coming to you and saying, hey, I heard I should wait and put 20% down because that's more safe and my payment will be lower, well, then your question back to them is, well, what can you afford right now? Because it sounds to me like it's more of an affordability issue than it is coming up with 20% down, because living in San Diego, like we know, the median price now is above $500,000. So if you're going to wait and save up $100,000 so that you can go buy a home, you may never buy a home.
Right.
Well, going back to what you're talking about, going to the last statement, if the individual or the agent is looking at this person, this home buyer as a commission, are they really going to say, okay, well, instead of the 800, let's go down to 600, and I'm going to lose that commission right there on the difference? And that's
Right.
the issue that occurs right there.
It is, and it's we're in a service-based business.
Yeah.
You should be serving the client first, The commission is the byproduct of providing a quality service.
Exactly.
That's
I
how we
agree.
try to treat it.
And I would say this, and great stuff, by the way, fellas, across the board. Fantastic debate today. We'll have to do all guys more often, maybe. I don't know. No offense, ladies, but this was really, really good. I think what the real issue is with people who are saying, I want to hold up and save 20% is just a fear. It's a fear situation. It's not a logical situation. And you know, I hope you can save enough to outpace the appreciation. That's all.
Right.
You know, because if it's 500,000 now and you say you need to save 100, it might be 600 by the time you save 100. Now you need 20 more. And so and I just hope that you can save faster than these homes can go up in value, because if not, I don't know what to tell you. Thank you guys so much for your time today. Really, really appreciate it. Everyone did a fantastic job. There will be more real estate debate next month on the same channel, same time. We'll see you then.